All right, hey guys, this is Bunions from Bunions and Cabbage. Um, I figured I would just make a video here real quick to show you guys some of my painting process. You don't see a lot of videos where people just paint, so to keep it a little bit more interesting, I'll just kind of talk through it as I go, just to give you a little bit of background. This is a Minotaur. It was designed by Brutefun Minis. You should check their page out on My Mini Factory or Cults 3D. The designer of this actually designed it to be Grashnak, so I am painting it like the Black Bull. Uh, I base coated him with some Stynylrez black primer, and I gave him a base coat that's a combination of some Reaper Pure Black with some Liquitex Carbon Black. Before the video actually started, I had actually already painted the shorts. I gave them a brilliant red coat, and I forgot to set up before the video, so we are pulling out my palette here. It's going to pause in just a second for a little bit, and I'll just kind of give me an opportunity to catch up a little bit. The shoulder pads I did it's actually a new paint to me. It's MIG paint. It's one of their it's their gunmetal. So I did the shoulder pads in a dark silver. It's basically the same color as Iron Warriors if you like Citadel paints. Um, so I did the shoulder pads in that, but I still wanted them to be more rusty looking. So I gave them at the beginning of the video a nice coat in some Agrax Earthshade to kind of pull out some of that brown so it looks like they're used. So, all right, we're gonna get back to it. I'm just touching up the shorts a little bit because there are some spots that are still a little bit splotchy on them, so I'm not quite done. I don't actually finish them in this video. Um, it's really easy to not actually finish things. The thing I like about the way this guy designs his models is he does make good use of negative space. He takes his time to give you some of those flat areas that don't necessarily have any details on them, so you just have to paint the areas, and it actually brings out the detail parts. Like I really like the details with the spikes on the shoulder. There's a skull, there's wrappings around them. Anyway, we are working on the red right now. I'm actually going to pull out some other paint in just a minute. This guy will be one of the, I don't actually need another Minotaur. This will be the third Minotaur I've painted for my Chaos team. But I'm hoping to just use this guy more as a star player and keep my other Minotaur that I have. So now we're going to move to some other paint here. You can see the Agrax Earthshade right there. I use a Masterson's Stay Wet palette. I love it. And I'm using one of the thicker sheets. I probably shouldn't be using one of the thicker sheets on it, but it's fine. It is what it is. I'm pulling out some mountain stone here. We're gonna kind of touch it up because the hard part about doing all black is it all blends together. Of course, we gotta water it down a little bit. So we're going to give some of the tufts of hair all over him a little bit of then we're going to paint him gray, give him a nice wash in black, maybe do some dry brushing of some white on top of him, just to give him a little bit of contrast. I think it'll look really nice once it's done. He does have quite a bit of hair, but again, it's those nice details. Sometimes I get kind of tired when I'm painting those Games Workshop minis. I look at them and there's just so much stuff. And this guy has a decent amount of stuff on him, but it's not like every single spot on his body is taken up with paint. So I'm using the more watered down paint with the gray to get into some of those cracks so that I could probably do it with a little bit thicker paint and keep out of the cracks, but I'm just going to go back over it with a wash later, with a nice black wash to make it so you can see his skin underneath the hair, and then give it that nice dry brush on the tips. This bull is nice. He's probably about 2.5 inches tall. He comes on a 40 millimeter base, so he's bigger than a normal whenever you buy a normal big guy. But he's not too horribly big. He'll fit in nicely with my Blood Bowl team, the Blood Skull Crushers. All right. Trying my best to make sure. Sometimes I can go through these things and I can get in kind of a rush. When I get in a rush, I kind of tend to miss details of things. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, I've been painting for probably about 2 years now. It's really become a hobby that I've actually enjoyed quite a bit. It's really nice because you sit there and you have some music on or you have some YouTube on and you just listen and you just paint. And unlike playing a video game, when you're done and you set it down, you have something to show for it. I also run an Etsy shop where I can paint. If you would like me to paint your miniatures for you, I'd be more than happy to. You don't have to. If you just want to watch someone paint, that's fine. And then there around the cuff of his shorts, I'm using a little bit of a bigger brush. I'm using it's a Master's Touch. It's actually a 3-0, but it's a little bit bigger than the Creative Mark 2.0 that I use, which is weird, which really they need to get more consistency with their sizing. It's bigger than the 2.0. It's actually about the size of a 1 from, or a 0 from Winsor & Newton. Doesn't have that nice tip on it, though. So I don't really, I use it every once in a while when I'm doing bigger sections. So it was working really nicely for this hair. Got a lot of hair. He's got that strap going across his back, too. And I like the way he took it and he ran it through his hair. So his hair is actually laying down underneath the strap, which is a good detail to throw in there. You can see some of my other miniatures on the side there. I have a Master of Possession sitting up there, which, going with my trend, has not actually been finished either. He's got some more details to work on. All right. I think we hit all of the hair. Oh, no, we got a little bit more. I get that tail. I almost forgot the tail. Yep. Gives him, like I said, it just gives him that nice little bit of contrast, because before I did that, you look at him and he's all the same color. He's just black. Everything blends into everything else. It's hard to tell where stuff is. So I'm going to do his hair gray and leave his skin black. He'll still be the Black Bull. I had thought about doing a darker red, but I do a lot of really dark stuff. So I was like, I want to do a little bit of a brighter color. So I'm doing a little bit of a brighter red for his shorts. They're a little worn, so I'll probably try to add something to give them a little bit of a dirt effect. Maybe I'll wash them in a brown. That's usually my answer, is to just wash stuff. It looks like I'm going back for some more paint now. Oh yeah, I'm going to go with some bleached linen from Reaper. And of course, we got to water it down a little bit. Wanted to have his loincloth there, his towel in the front. I want it to be a nice bright white. And then I'll dirty it up a little bit and add some red spots on it, so it looks like he's been wiping his hands off after he bloodies someone up. I think it'll be a nice touch. It's a ways down the road for me to do that. I got a lot of other stuff I got to take care of before I actually come to that. But it'll be good. I'm digging around on my messy desk next to me, trying to find stuff. Like I said, I'm looking for trying to contrast, because painting a black creature like this is just, it's so dark. If you don't add lighter touches here and there, he just looks all the same, and it doesn't really look like you've done anything. So Like I said, I'm going to make this towel a nice bright white to kind of contrast, go with that bright red. Contrast his black skin and his dark hair. And of course, bloody it up. Make it make it a little bit of use. Sometimes it's just, you got to find something different to do. I painted so many chaos, and I actually have a word bearer's army, so I painted a lot of red, a lot of dark red. So just finding something else, because the usual. I could have done a Nurgle, but since I don't have a Nurgle team, I decided to go with the red. Just a little bit of red on the shorts, kind of make it a little bit more universal than just a part of the Chaos Chosen team. You don't want that. He's a star player, and we want him to be able to diversify, because that's what he is. He's a star player. He needs to diversify a little bit. So we're still working here, filling in, painting that white over that black base coat. Just, it's going to take me a couple layers to get that to come out. I mean, it looks nice. It looks very used as it currently is, which is fine. Which I think I might be happy with. But part of me also wants to. It'll save me on some washing a little bit later. I do need to figure out why my camera is so bad at focusing, though. It is definitely hard to see some of these spots where I'm painting. Probably need to invest in a new camera, which is fine. I can do that. I'm going back here. I realize that as I'm looking around the side of his loincloth, I have there's some black lines between the two of them where I either didn't get the side with white, or I didn't go all the way up to the towel with red. And you don't want that. You want it to look consistent, and there's enough contrast between that bright red and that white and that bleached linen that I don't need to line it in there and have it look like there's a black line between them. All right, let's see what we're doing next. I think this is the part of the video where I started putting paint down a little bit too far to the right, so you can't actually see it. Well, let's see what happens here. All right, I think this is where I put down some leather brown. Yeah, I wipe off my brush, the back of my brush there. I usually like to do that. I have a dropper bottle of water, so I'll put the water in, and then I'll take the back of my brush handle and I'll use it to mix up the water and the paint. Again, I'm going for some cleaner colors. It would be easy to just throw a dark brown on here, and again, I want the contrast between his clothing and the rest of him, because the rest of him is, with that, hopefully all these bright colors will blend in together, and the dark colors of his skin and his coat and everything like that will kind of be brought to the forefront. There is a lot of leather straps on here, and again, the same thing with the white, going from that dark black to this bright of the leather brown from Reaper is actually really bright. It's a really light color. It's almost got a lot of white in it. So going from those two colors does make a lot of work, and it's going to take several layers for me to get it a nice opaque brown. I think that'll be okay, though. All right, so just doing some dusting here, trying to make sure I get the straps on both sides. You can see some black around his tail there. Again, the end of his belt right there. He's actually got a piece of metal on the end, so when I go back and I do the metal, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to paint that with the bronze color that I'm using for his ornamentation. The chaos symbols that are all over him. All those arrows. Everybody who paints chaos knows they have a bunch of arrows. So here we go. All right. Again, I don't want those black lines between the belt and the belt buckle, because it should look like they're the same piece, because they're attached to each other. There shouldn't be like a shadow between the two of them. Got some dry paint on the back, so I'm giving it a second coat there. You can already see that a lot better. There's a lot of yellow. That's what I was looking for. It's not a lot of white. It's a lot of yellow in that brown. So just got to be careful about the fact that there's that much yellow. If you add too much blue to it, it'll start to turn green. So just, something to be aware of. I think I'm going to start painting his straps that are holding his shoulder plates in place in just a second. Oh, I pulled out my one of my sable brushes to get some of these details, to get some of the inside of his, right there along the edge. I am definitely going to have to come back with black along the intersection of those there. This is something that the guy from Brutefun actually asked me if I would paint up for him, so I'm going to work really hard to make this more than table ready. So it's going to take a lot of work to get some of these details in place. I haven't seen any spots yet where I'm going to use any blending or anything like that. I probably will at some point, but right now I'm just working on the details. I'm getting some of these base coat colors down. That way he looks. That way I can get a feel for what he's going to look like, and then I can come back and I can make sure stuff is highlighted and stuff is shadowed appropriately. I think I come back a little bit later in this video and I do some shading with some dark tone, some Army Painter dark tone. Because my friendly neighborhood game shops don't ever seem to have Nuln Oil in stock, which is okay. I have dark tone and I have a small bottle of Vallejo black wash, so I'm fairly set in that. It's just, with the washes, I like the pots because you don't really need to do a whole lot of thinning with them. Oh, I forgot his chest hair. It's probably all fine too, just because I did the rest of his hair in with that larger brush, and so coming back with the smaller detail brush is a little bit better. Alright, I'm going to wash it out, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some more. I think I'm going to do some more brown. Well, I set it down. I might be going for another color. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm going for another color. Ooh. So I'm not super big fan of the Reaper metallics. They separate really easily, and it's really hard to get them to recombine. So as you can see there, the bottom one is basically nothing but medium that just came out, and so I had to shake it up again, and then I got the top one, which is a better amount of medium to pigment. Again, camera, autofocus, just going nuts on me. I don't expect this video to be very good. I've never actually sat down and watched myself paint. His two small feet do make it kind of hard because he does move around a little bit. Some miniatures are better on I use mounting tape, and that works a little bit better on some miniatures than others. But just put my finger behind him and it holds him in place fairly well. I get those rings. I do like those rings. That's a nice addition. Just imagine him marking out on that Blood Bowl field and jingling a little bit as those rings on his armor kind of clank around. Your jingle bells, instead of seeing Santa Claus, when you turn around you see Grashnak. Again, I could have done a brighter gold or a bronze or something, but I wanted something a little bit more muted. Make it look like it's worn, like he gets used, because, his shorts, those are easy enough to replace, but you figure his armor plates. His armor plates probably get a lot of use. They're worn a lot longer than the shorts are. The shorts probably tear after a couple games. So those being a bright color is okay. But his shoulder plates need to be a little bit more banged up than that. All right. Okay. Let's see what we're going to do next. We're going to do a little bit more along the edge of this other shoulder pad. I do have to come back later and get some of these bolts. He does have some bolts interwoven in different places where the leather straps are attached to his shoulder pads. And so I want to come back and I'm going to get those. All right. And I am going to come down in just a second. I'm going to do the spikes on his bracers there. Make those that bronze color. Might hit them with some of that. I have some dried blood from Vallejo that I might use on them. All right. I think I gotta get the star next. Yep, what's a chaos piece without that 8-pointed star? There we go. Man, this focus is just driving me crazy here. Like I said, what's a chaos piece without his 8-pointed star? Nope, moved a little bit out of frame there. Just getting some of the lines along the arrow that's on his shoulder pad there. I looked at it while I was painting and I wasn't super happy with it. Well, I'll bring it back into frame here in just a second. I hope you like looking at my left hand. Okay. Alright. Now we're going to get some paint on the ends of his horns there, because he does have some covers on the end of his horns. Like I said, he's very good about detailing these miniatures. He doesn't go overboard with the details, but at the same time, like, the stuff that needs details on him has details, which is nice, which I like. This is actually the second miniature by Brutefun that I painted. I also painted up a troll that I use for my black orc team, which does not have a name, which is fine, because it took me forever to paint them. Alright. I think this is actually pretty close to where I call it for the night. No, this is where I come back. I'm going to put some black wash. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to use some of the dark tone by Army Painter. I'm going to go over some of that hair before I finish for the night. Just tone it back down a little bit, because the gray is a little bright. And hair is never just one color. So I want to get into those shadows. And there we go. Because he's got some details there. There's some bands in the hair there. There's also a skull that the Grashnak is tied in the back, which is nice. It's a nice touch. I think when I base this guy, I'm going to have to get some more skulls and put some skulls on the base with him. Make him look like the killing machine that he is. All right. He's got a lot of hair on his body, so I got a lot of hair that I gotta wash over here. I'm a little of a cheater sometimes. I do use my washes quite frequently to kind of help me pull out some of the shadows. I'm working on it, but you know, every once in a while, you just gotta make sure that sometimes it's best to take the easy route. Plus, this guy will probably see some playtime on the Blood Bowl table, so I don't necessarily have to make him perfect. I want him to be perfect. I want every one of my miniatures to be perfect. Gotta get that tail. Can't forget the tail. I am actually very happy with how this black wash toned the color back, so it kind of blends a little bit more with the skin. And when I go back over it with a little bit of white for the edges, to catch the edges of it, I think it'll make a nice bright pop. So you'll see where his hair is. There we go. All right.